This is why you should never rush to conclusions. Once there was a young couple getting married. At their wedding reception, their friends decided to play a game of hide and seek with the bride and the groom. It was decided that the groom would try to find his bride, and the bride would find somewhere to hide. But hours passed, and the groom had searched everywhere in the venue and couldn't find where she was hiding. He assumed that she must be having second thoughts about getting married. He got mad and stormed off. Weeks went by, and he accepted that she must have gone on with her life and didn't want to contact him anymore. So he did the same. A few years later, though, the cleaning lady found something horrifying. She went into the attic of the building where the reception had taken place years ago. There she found an old trunk. She opened it and found the rotting body of the missing bride. Her face was still frozen in a scream, and inside the trunk were huge scratch marks from when she tried to get out. This is why you should never talk to strangers in an elevator. One day, a surgeon was working the night shift at a hospital. He just finished his operation on a patient and was going to the basement. He entered the elevator, and there was one other woman already inside. They were casually chatting when the elevator door opened and another woman was about to enter. But the surgeon looked horrified. He quickly slammed the close button and punched the highest floor of the building. Surprised, the woman asked why he was being so rude and wouldn't let the other woman in the elevator with them. The surgeon explained that in this hospital, all patients wear white wristbands with their names printed on them. But the red wristbands are placed on all of the corpses. The surgeon then looks to the woman in the elevator with him and says, "That was the same woman I just operated on. She died on the operating table. Didn't you see the red wristband she was wearing?" The woman in the elevator with him just smiled, raised her arm and said, "You mean like this one? If a package arrives at your door, don't do what she did." Once there was a girl named Gabby who received a mysterious package in the mail. There was no name and address written on it, so she had no idea where it came from. She opened it anyways, and inside was a DVD with no title or cover on the case. Thinking it might be one of her friends pranking her, she called them over to her house. Her friends arrived, and none of them knew what the mysterious package was, so they decided to watch the DVD together. Immediately, they were surprised at what they saw on the TV screen. There was a clown standing in a normal-looking bedroom. The clown was holding 2 red balloons and stared deeply into the camera. Then slowly, his expression turned into a menacing grin. Gabby's friends thought it was funny and began laughing. But Gabby just sat there with a terrified look in her eyes. Eventually, her friends asked, "What's wrong? Isn't this hilarious?" Gabby replied with her voice shaking, "That's my bedroom, right? This is why you should never let your husband change the light bulb." Lena and Michael were a married couple, and in their house was a storage closet they put random things in. Neither of them wanted to clean it up, but soon this would lead to something terrifying. One day, Michael was trying to find a light bulb in the closet when he tripped and fell. Lena said, "You're so clumsy, are you all right?" Michael replied yes, and they carried on with their day. But things were not so simple. The next day when Lena came home, she realized she forgot her keys and her phone was out of battery. So she waited for Michael to come home too, but he never did. So Lena banged on the door and it opened. Michael never left the house. But what's even more strange was the smell. Something in her house smelled rotten. Lena went inside and began looking for what it could be, and that's when she opened the storage closet. Inside, she found Michael's body on the ground. He'd hit his head on the edge of a metal drawer. Then she turned around and heard the voice of her husband saying, "What's wrong, honey? This is why you should never let someone borrow your phone charger." Once there was a young woman named Betty who was home alone when she heard a knock at her door. She opened it and saw a young man standing there. He said his car broke down and his phone battery ran out, so he needed to borrow a charger. Wanting to help, Betty let him in and made him tea while his phone charged. This would be a devastating mistake because soon things started getting suspicious. They were chatting on the couch when the man brought up that he recently got into filmmaking, and it was his dream to make his own movie. No special effects, no camera tricks. He wanted to make everything seem real. But he didn't want to make any kind of movie. He wanted to make his own horror movie. Betty started feeling uncomfortable, so she hinted that she wanted to go to bed soon. Then as she stood up from the couch, she noticed something. Something she didn't see before, and this changed everything. Underneath the man's jacket was a glowing red light. The red light of a camera that was recording. If this happens to you, do not open the door. Once there was a girl named Donna who lived with her father, but he went out of town for a business trip, so Donna was left alone in the house. Then one night she heard the doorbell ring. She went downstairs and was about to open the door, assuming it was her father, but she stopped. Something wasn't right. She looked through the people and saw her father staring back at her. His eyes were wide open and he looked terrified, but the doorbell kept ringing. Donna said, "Dad, did you forget your keys?" No answer. "Dad, say something." Still no answer. Donna said, "I'm not opening the door until you say something." Eventually, the ringing stopped and Donna fell asleep. The next morning, she looked through the peephole again. Her father was still there as if he hadn't moved all night. She finally opened the door, and what she saw horrified her. Her father's head was hanging from above the door, and there was a note attached to the doorbell with only 2 words: "Clever girl." This story is the reason why I'll never live alone. Once there was an elderly woman who lived alone in a cabin in the mountains. She lived a quiet life and rarely had visitors. Her husband had passed away recently, so her only companion was her beloved dog. Every night when the woman went to bed, the dog would lick her hand as a way to let her know that he was always there to protect her. But one night, the woman was woken up to the sound of her dog whimpering. So she reached her hand below her bed and the dog licked her hand as always. She thought the dog must just be cold, so she didn't think that much of it. In the morning, she stuck her hand out again, but the dog wasn't there anymore. She thought he must be up already and was just wandering around the house, but what she'd find later would terrify her. She heard dripping noises, so she went to the bathroom to see if it was a sink, but it wasn't. Instead, she saw her loving companion hung up by the bathtub, and on the bathroom mirror were the words written in blood, "Humans can lick too."